What a turnaround by the South Alabama Jaguars. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz, and today we have Mark Calvi, the head coach of the South Alabama Jaguars, who have finally climbed towards the 500 mark. They've actually won five straight Sunbelt Series weekends. Compare that to where I am now, the Cajuns. They have lost 4 out of 5, and they both find themselves tied for 6th, as it turns out. With 5 other teams trying to scratch and claw their way into the Sun Belt Conference tournament. Only the top 10 teams will be able to get into the Sun Belt Conference tournament in Montgomery. We talk about expectations. We talk about the rotation, the weekend rotation, and we talk about something a little bit different. You know, it seems easy, but it not necessarily is, how to DH. And apparently Mark Calvi has found a good one in Trey Lewis. Let's do it. Let's talk a little South Alabama Jaguars baseball with head coach Mark Calvi. Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Thrilled and honored to have Mark Calvi on, the head coach of the South Alabama Jaguars baseball team. I leave, they can't lose. I think they've won 4 out of the last 5 Sunbelt series, maybe 5 in a row even. You guys are on fire, so congratulations for that. But let's back it up because what did you expect out of this team? Let's go back to the beginning of the season. It's February. You had a big turnover. What did you expect from this team?
That's a great question, Dave. Kind of this. I really did. You know, I knew we had some good players, but we had a bunch of new guys without experience. And at this level, experience is a factor. A guy that's been around the block with you a couple times is a huge factor. And we're 70% new on the team. So I knew that would rear its head in different ways, in some untimely errors, in some plays where you scratched your head, in some poor play. I knew it would rear its head. But we've also, when you're new like that, I felt like we had some talent. When you're new like that, you got to stay healthy and you got to try to gel, because no team stays the same, and new teams that start to fit together get better as the year goes on, as long as you don't have health issues or you have guys coming back, which we have some guys coming back. We'll talk about that. I know in the last month, last two weeks, we've gotten much stronger. That's 3 weeks, much stronger on the mound, which is huge. But I honestly, well, it's so funny. My wife asked me every year, how do you feel? And I said, last year I could have told you I felt great. I had everyone back from a team that was one single away from winning, going to a super regional, and we had all those injuries, but I could tell you they were predictable. This team, my wife asked me, how do you feel? And I said, I really don't know. I said, this team is so new, and I know how new goes. We have some talent, but there's just so many new guys. It's I don't know. It's kind of right where I thought we were going to be, getting better as the year goes along. But the kids are phenomenal. I think I like the kids more than I think I would for just 2 or 3 games above 500. Usually you're a little bit sour when when you don't, I don't like the team. I don't know, or this guy, they don't like each other. These kids are phenomenal. Like, they are absolutely a fantastic group. We've got some guys that are funny. They like each other. They've endured a couple punches in the mouth, and we've had some bad games. We've had some good games. These kids keep showing up, and that's the key to getting through big time college athletics, especially baseball. You got to keep showing up. You got to, when you get knocked down, you got to get off the mat, and then you got to land some blows too, and I think that's what this team has done so far.
All right, so let's compare this to basketball, because in baseball, it's got to be much harder, right? In basketball, you can come in, you can come out, you play more than once a week. In baseball, a pitcher may only pitch once a week. A batter, although he may get some at-bats in a week, it's only maybe 3 or 4 times in a ball game. You look at what Richie Riley did with the basketball team. I think it took him like 3 months to adjust to his team, and then when he and they figured it out, they went on the run all the way to the Sun Belt Championship game. How How do you go about doing that? Because if someone has a bad game or two, you can't give up on them. They can't give up on themselves. And yet you guys have to find the right people for those spots. How long does it take in baseball?
Boy, baseball is so much about confidence, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I wish you could sub in and out and sub some guys. And, it's just so much about their belief, and they believe in themselves. Does the coach believe in me? And you got to stay with certain guys. But to me, like once I've inserted him in there and I have a feeling, I'm going to let him run a little bit. He's got to really screw up for me to pull him out, or just change whoever he is, for one of the reasons that I put him in there. Baseball, usually I like to say, if guys are healthy, I like to know within the first 15 games, I'm going to give some chances, and then I'm kind of going to be settled on my 10 guys, your 9, and then, or maybe you're right versus left, or maybe a pinch hitter. So you have your 11 guys that you settle in on, and there's some roles. This team here, there were 5 different jobs that were open, Dave. So honestly,
you said that, yeah. You mentioned that early on the season. That's right.
Yeah, that was my concern, not being able to settle in on right field, DH, first base, third base, shortstop, catcher, not being able to settle in because they're all new, and I wanted to be fair. And in being fair, you're giving chances. You're being fair to one guy. There's 2 guys for each position. When you give chances, you're being fair to one guy. That's how it goes. But I was being fair all the same, and no one would take the job. No one would take right field. No one would take DH. Nobody would take first base. Nobody would take third base. So I keep giving these opportunities, and I'm like, damn it. Somebody take one job. Make it easier. Let's make it easier. Would somebody please, I don't care what position it is, somebody take it. And then Trey Lewis started to settle in at DH, and then some right and left stuff started to happen out in right field. Thrasher started playing better, new guy. Colson Lawrence started playing better, new guy. We started to get a couple first basemen, healthy. And then some things started to shake out. Trey Lewis was playing some first base, and Micah Morgan was starting to, get the hang of this Division I thing, playing first base. And Tyler Borges emerged a couple weeks ago as our third baseman, where, Mitch here was pitching and trying to play third, and Hunter Donaldson. And we just, I was trying to be fair, yet give some chances, and nobody would grab a job. So I think it was at Nichols where, and I saw this, we lost to Lafayette at home 2 out of 3, but we out-hit them on game 1 and game 3. Game 2, we got pounded. It happens. And I started to see the offense show some life that weekend against some good pitching. So I said, you know what, this sucks right now. Like, no, this doesn't feel good at all. But we out-hit them in 2 of the 3 games. Like, if we can shore up some areas, you know what I mean? If some of you guys will, I'm giving you the chances. If someone will step up and grab a position per week or whatever, no team stays the same. We have the chance to get better, while some other teams, we might see some teams on the way down as we're on our way up, as long as we stay healthy. And some things 5 weeks ago just started to kind of happen. And then Nichols, we were down early, came back, and that's when we got Leif Moore back, who was on the injured list. Leif Moore came back. He helped us, and then went to JMU and won 2 out of 3. And that's when we've won 2 out of 3 every weekend. And then Trey Lewis started to hit. Borges was still on the bench, but Mitch here we started to stretch him out a little bit on the mound, and started to kind of limit his throws at third base, limit his playing time at third, and extend his pitches, which is what we needed because we had a couple injuries on the mound. We had three or four guys injured on the mound. And so recently in the last 3 weeks, we've gotten a healthy Jeremy Lee back. Even though he hadn't missed time, he trust me, that there were some things that weren't right with him coming off the Tommy John. Leif Moore had missed the first 6 weeks of the season. Caden Homniak really had missed the first 7 weeks of the season, coming off 3 surgeries. And Zach Willingham, one of our better relievers, was coming back off of getting hit in the face with a line drive at Georgia Southern week 1, where we got, we lost 2 out of 3 there. So we've gotten some guys back, some good guys back, not pitchers 11 through 15. We've got pitchers, some important guys coming back and some contributors. So Leif Moore's throwing on Friday now. It's just kind of the way it figured itself out. And Caden Homniak came in and really won us the game the other day to help us beat Troy, on the Sunday rubber match. So Yeah, so we figured some things out on the mound as long as they perform. And then I think just some guys, I've used the same lineup now, or a version of the same lineup now for 20 games, for the last 20 games. So I think that lends itself to, settling down a little bit. I'm just like, man, if you guys will let me settle this down, I don't want to run. I don't want a revolving door at 5 different spots. Like, you guys need to understand that, like, yes, I've got the power of the pen, but you're the ones that influenced me to put your name down. I don't just randomly pick names out of a hat. Like, show me you're the guy that can help us at DH. Show me you're the guy that needs to play right field all the time, or, it's things like that. And there's some guys that have stepped up. And so there's, like I said, you can just see that there's been some gelling together as a team and then gelling into their roles.
All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back with more with South Alabama head coach Mark Calvi. We'll talk about trying to make that adjustment to becoming a designated hitter, how difficult that may be for some. But first, let's talk a little bit about FanDuel. I mean, I know it's college sports here, and I'm in a college town. They're not even big on the Pelicans around here, although I am, if Zion can ever get healthy. But I am really looking forward to this NBA series, the Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not sure it's going to get much better than that. And I'm going to take advantage of it, make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs, because right now, new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Dave Schultz back on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's talk to Mark Calvi about sometimes it goes unnoticed, but apparently the Jaguars have found a solid designated hitter, Trey Lewis, and how difficult that may be for some. We're talking to Mark Calvi, head coach of the South Alabama Jaguars, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Let's talk about a position in the lineup that doesn't get a lot of discussion. You mentioned Trey Lewis at DH. No one grows up to be a DH, right? Those things come when you're a little bit older. How difficult is it to find somebody who can deal with that? We hear it all the time professionally. He hits much better when he's in the field and he stays focused, and yet you don't get a shot if you're DHing to play the field, and you just got to sit there through, 95% of the ball game. How difficult is it, and how do you try to help somebody become more comfortable and stay focused as a designated hitter?
It's tough. It's really tough. Trey played second base every day at East Central Mississippi Junior College, and hit 412 last year. So he was a hitter. We tried to get him over there at first base, have a really good first baseman in Micah Morgan. I honestly, Dave, I don't know how guys hit and not play the field. I think it's something that I think you can learn it, but I think kids kind of have a knack, for doing that. You've seen guys that when they play first base and they hit 380, and you're like, well, this guy could be a DH, and they end up hitting 180. You hear that old adage, like, I need to play. And so I think I don't know if you make a DH. I think you find a DH. I just think you get lucky in a kid that can do it. Now, I think you might keep somebody focused in that, they might be out there involved playing catch with the left fielder in between innings, or keeping a chart or something. I think a guy can do something to keep them focused, but I think you find a DH. I don't know if you make one. And I think we found one.
Otherwise, they're just stewing and thinking about their at bat until they come up again. Whereas if you're playing shortstop, hopefully you find a guy who's not thinking about their at bat. We're talking to Mark Calvi, South Alabama Jaguars, baseball head coach on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, talk about the rotation. Talk about the weekend rotation, because just in this discussion you've mentioned, it's been in flux most of the season.
It has been weekend rotation right now, just kind of the way things fell into place. Jeremy Lee or Mitch here and Jeremy Lee were so good the last 3 Saturdays and Sundays that I'm like, I don't need to move him up. Jeremy's been through a lot. I don't think anyone in the league is going to have a better Sunday guy than Jeremy Lee. I mean, he's a Friday guy when he's on. No, he's a draft pick this year. And so we skipped. Leif Moore had been throwing well the last 2 weeks, again in the middle of the week against some good teams, Alabama State. Again, he did not get into the fold until about a month ago. He was on the injured list. So we didn't have him at all. So he went from Tuesday to he missed a start last week because we started Caden Homnick, and Leif just slid into Friday night. He just slid into Friday night because I bumped him a start, and I wanted to keep Mitch Herr and Jeremy Lee kind of in their spots. So we weren't winning on Friday, which is kind of amazing. Until this weekend, the last 4 weeks, we'd lost every Friday and won Saturday and Sunday. So I was kind of like, far be it from me to mess with that. Let's keep Saturday and Sunday the same. Maybe we can sweep a series if we figure out Friday. And we were starting Sam Knowlton. Maybe we can get him back into the pen where he's comfortable. And okay, let's give Leif a shot. That's what it was. The kid's been great. He's a competitor. He's healthy now. It's not 90 to 94. It's not, but it's pitchability with the good changeup. And I'm like, let's run him out there. So this way we just move one guy instead of moving three, so that's what we did. And he went out and beat a very good Troy team, first game of the series this past weekend.
All right, let's take one more timeout. We'll wrap it up with Mark Calvi. He'll talk about the weekend rotation, and they do not have an easy road as well. The Cajuns have just wrapped up playing Coastal Carolina, and then we'll wrap up the season playing Southern Miss. South Alabama gets Southern Miss this weekend, and then Coastal goes to Mobile. So it is not going to be an easy couple of weekends for the South Alabama Jaguars. But again, thank you so much for staying with us and continuing to subscribe. We continue to grow. I do have to continue to reach out to some of the people I'm still trying to get in contact with for interviews and good episodes as, football is whole winding down with spring football. Everyone's going to take off a little bit, maybe a vacation in there they so richly deserve. But again, softball is coming up. The Sun Belt Conference Tournament is coming up here in Lafayette. So we've already got Jerry Glasgow set to come on for next week, the head coach of the Raging Cajuns. They've only won 80 straight Sun Belt series. This is going on for over a decade, and I don't think it gets enough notice nationally. I don't even think it gets enough notice locally either. But we'll talk to Jerry Glasgow about that. All right, let's and continue to subscribe and tell your friends and share the videos. And of course, you can find on audio Locked On Sunbelt wherever you get your audio podcasts, and just search Locked On Sunbelt in YouTube to subscribe to the channel. All right, let's wrap things up with Mark Calvi. He talks about his weekend rotation and then trying to take on Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss. Talking to Mark Calvi, South Alabama Jaguars head baseball coach. All right, the competition level, well, you beat Troy, so that's pretty good. But now you get Southern Miss and Coastal Carolina. And Mark, Coastal Carolina's offense is basically like the Golden State Warriors. They have 46 home runs in 21 Sun Belt games. Coming into the series with the Cajuns, they were first in the league in batting at like 331 Sun Belt games only. And like Georgia State, I think, was second at like 303. How do you go into a series knowing, A, we have to score some runs, and B, they're going to score some runs and not get down if they put up a couple of runs? Because, again, home runs, batting average, and stolen bases. Mark, it's not fair. They're really good.
Yeah. It's like playing the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah.
The baseball version of the Harlem Globetrotters. Like, they can make shots from the other court. They can kick balls in. They can dribble past you. They can dunk over you. And they can make trick shots. It's just, we have them here. They're a very, very good club. And baseball is different. They've been very, very good all year, and they are very, very good. They have some good arms, and obviously their numbers speak for themselves. Anything can happen in baseball. Football, pretty much the bigger, faster, stronger team. Like, you're gonna win that game. Basketball, a little more size, as long as someone can shoot that night. You're pretty much going to dominate the team that you're better than physically. Baseball is different, as you know. There's a lot of factors in baseball. It can take if a team's off one game or one weekend or not seeing it well, couple pitchers off, make a couple ill-timed mistakes, and but to beat a team like Coastal Carolina, I will tell. We don't have to play perfect. We just have to play a great version of our brand of baseball. We can't walk guys. We've had too many walks in conference. You can't give them free bases. You can't walk them. You can't give errors. You got to do the best you can to get their leadoff out every inning, because that's when their big innings happen, when you walk their leadoff guy. If they get a leadoff single, okay, they've at least used one of their hits for that inning. If you walk a guy or hit a guy to put them on, they higher to score rate. They score at a higher rate than a guy that you walk to get on first base. So you've got to make those guys earn their way on first base. Yes, they're going to get their hits. Yes, they're going to hit some home runs. It's what you do before the hits and home runs, and it's what you do after the hits and home runs. Is there an error and a walk in there before the home run? Is there an error and a walk after a hit, and then the guy hits the home run? Or can we keep it clean, solo home run, out? You know what I mean? Something like so.
I do.
We've just got to play a clean brand of baseball, because they can bury you quick. It's not death by paper cuts. It's like, boom, 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 fight's over. That's what happened. Like. It's Mike Tyson.
Yeah. That's what happened to the Cajuns. A double play ball turned into a 7-run inning really quickly. And then they scored the winning run on Sunday without the benefit of a hit, a walk, a pass ball, a bunt, and then a sac fly. They just didn't get a base hit.
They're really good, Dave, and they're really good, and they're advantageous too. So that's a sign of a really good team that knows how to take advantage of mistakes. So that's what makes them, like dangerous to like a lethal baseball team.
All right, let's wrap it up here with Mark Calvi, South Alabama Jaguars baseball coach, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, despite winning 5 Sunbelt series in a row, you're tied for 6th, and it is all jumbled. There's like, what is there, 6 teams that are tied for 6th place? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are tied for 6th place. Only the top 10 teams make it. Louisiana is doing their best to not make the tournament. That's a different podcast. That's a different episode. How do you guys focus on, if we take care of our job, it'll all work out. And at the same time, knowing who you are, you may be a little bit nervous looking at those standings.
I think we just keep moving forward like we have. We've beaten some good teams the last 5 weeks, and there's been no there's been no panic. There's been no the guys know what we have to do. They see the standings. I mean, it's all over the place. When 20 years ago, when there was no social media, you used to have to tell guys, hey, listen, we're in 3rd place. You guys need to win 6 of your next 9 to get into the to make the RPI work and things like that. Now it's everywhere. So I just think we have gotten healthier and we've gotten better as the season has gone along. And I'm not going to really change. I'm going to stay the same. I have stayed the same. I'm going to stay the same. We're just going to keep trying to play good baseball. You got to run your best guys out there and have them prepared for what other teams do, but really be prepared for what you need to do to win, as a team. For us, we've made a couple fields look small, but we're not really a home run hitting team. We've got some guys that can, but we need to get guys on. We need to take advantage of our bunts and hit and runs, and we need to try to create some confusion a little bit when the other team's on defense, and like we did the other day with Troy and this weekend a couple times. And then there's times where we got to sit back and hit a double with men on like Coastal does. So I just, if we pitch and play good defense, we can score, a couple different ways. But I don't think we need to change anything. We just need to stay on the road that we're on right now, stay healthy, and just continue to trend where we're trending right now as a club. And I know it's tough. I mean, you got Southern Miss and Coastal, and then on the road at Arkansas State, and then in between you got Tulane and Southeastern Louisiana. It's a tough road to haul right now, but we've had a tough road. We've had a tough road the last 6, 8, 10 weeks. So our guys have been used to where we're at and the kind of baseball that we need to play.
He's Mark Calvi, South Alabama Jaguars baseball head coach. Thanks so much for hopping on Locked On Sunbelt, Coach. Best of luck the rest of the season, and we hope to see you in Montgomery. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dave. Great seeing you, my friend.
Give my best to everybody in Mobile.
I will, buddy. Thank you.